We're just talking about the small topic of artificial intelligence, the world of HR, people, culture, learning, and performance. And we've got Pernille, CLEMENT, and Alan here, who you remember from earlier on. And the good news is they have some experience. I'm not going to say they have all the answers, but I think they have some answers and maybe some questions, but also some experiences to leave us with. So I'm just going to dive straight in, if that's all right, panel. Are you good with that? Okay, my first question then. How can AI-driven HR solutions enhance employee engagement? And we heard from Michele earlier on today about how that's stubbornly down and flatlining, while addressing the dynamic needs of organizational stakeholders. So I guess we're talking leadership teams, we are talking about investors, we are talking about customers, we're talking about the political and employment law arena and agenda. So there's a lot to tabulate here. So how can AI-driven HR solutions enhance employee engagement and that whole dynamism of org stakeholders? Where should we go first? You going to go first? No. Alan, start with you.
Yes, I'm going first.
Go for it, my friend.
It's a really good question. In what comes to my mind, if I especially think about the employee engagement piece, which is if your employees need to ask a lot of internal questions, whether it's through an HR help desk or whatever process. There's a lot of tools and technologies you can use AI in the background to automate from a self-service perspective. But you can't take it, this is the engagement piece, or potentially negative, so far where they can't speak to a human, right? They should always be able to speak to their boss or whatever that looks like in your structure. But there are ways, just like you can with customers, to automate, make self-service, make the way of getting the information easier. But I don't think you should take it so far where you cannot interact with another human.
So there's something there about the sensitivity, the empathy that we heard about earlier on that we need to make sure actually is a potential bigger opportunity for people to utilize because they're outsourcing some of their other answers to machines and scripts and so on. So
and I mean, some people love self-service and some people like speaking to their boss to get an answer. You need to have both.
I think I just love an answer. So whatever gets me there is that. Clément, anything to add to that?
Well, I could add one point to that. It's proximity. I mean, I work for a company that is operating in some very remote locations. I was, for instance, last week, I was sharing with the team in Ivory Coast, and we have some banana fields. And it's very difficult to reach, your employees very far away. And basically having some solutions where you can, engage your employees with the right app. You can answer some of the questions directly, from the system is really a big plus for those kind of remote locations. We had the same kind of example. We operate in some Caribbean islands or Indian Ocean islands, and when you have a hurricane and when you need to catch up and be able to rebuild, things very fastly, or after big riots, and you need to get in touch with your employees, answer some of the questions. HR is really swamped at that time, and basically in those cases of emergency, that is really part of our business at GBH. That can be a big plus.
So those kind of emergency scenarios, they give us a different way of engaging people, keeping them informed, and I think that's a crucial factor when people are kind of stuck, uncertain, fearful, whatever it might be. Totally different form of engagement. However, I love the sense of proximity that you're talking about there, because people in those roles were labeled before COVID as low-skilled workers, and then all of a sudden during COVID they became key workers. I think we ought to keep that kind of frame, and we engage with them on a basis that they can respond well to and facilitate dialogue. So I love that. Pernille.
Yeah, I also think we need to look at engagement as the overall employee engagement for the organization. Because when we go to work, we go there to also have purpose and meaning in our lives. And if we can remove some of the elements that do not create that sense of purpose then we can also remove a lot of stress. I mean, it's not necessarily the hours people work, but it's, do I contribute? Do I actually add value? Am I doing something that adds value to others? Am I helping others? And by using solutions that are AI-based, more digital, we can remove some of the noise and leave the meaning, because we've heard throughout these 2 days that it takes people to make it work. AI cannot stand alone, so the collaboration between us can be improved.
Yeah, and that's where we would say it isn't just a process improvement. We're removing the friction, the interference, the clutter. I think that's really important, isn't it? I guess we do look at AI as an efficiency kind of tool, don't we? And I suppose, do people always see that, though? I mean, I suppose that's an interesting thing about how do we position utilizing AI tools to people so they don't go suspiciously, what am I doing here? Talking to some faceless bot that's going to sack me if I don't respond and so on. Is there a handling issue when it comes to this kind of thing, do you think?
I think we should look more beyond the operational optimization.
Yeah.
Because it can do so much more.
Yeah.
So if we just stay within the HR area, then we will move into using predictive capabilities, leveraging data sources, not only our engagement survey, but also sales data, market data, and employee engagement to find out what is the temperature of our organization. Does it match our strategy? If we're going to expand in a particular area, do we have the leadership capabilities that we need? And by combining data, there can be a predictive capability that can inform us in 6 months, you're probably going to see your attrition go up because you don't have the quality of leaders you need for driving transformation.
I think in customer experience, we've talked a lot about the sciences of persuasion, how we get people to make the choices we want them to, and we might call that behavioral economics or nudges. Do you think that kind of science of psychology is helping us make sure that people know how to use things and why they're being used? I mean, any experiences of that would be good.
I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question directly.
Yeah.
But for us, at least, it was critically important that we be very transparent in what we're doing. Yeah. Like I said earlier this morning, in our business, the hype has been that it's going to eliminate 50% of all interaction and contacts, which we don't necessarily believe that to be true, but who knows what will come. So because of that, anytime there's change equals fear, which is also an emotion. Yeah. So the more transparent you are, and the more you spend time educating your teams on what you're doing and why, and in our case, not replacing the individual, but helping or enhancing, the better, because I think that gets to that almost psychological safety aspect where people aren't worried about that. You can get them focused on the real issues, which are the business issues that you need people focused on.
And I guess, Clement, we're used to consumer-based technology where we can call an Uber, we can order through Amazon. So we're used to this instantaneous interaction stuff. But when we're deploying solutions in the workplace, are you seeing a different way that you position it and try and drive the take-up and the participation?
Look at what happened, here in Portugal and Spain. A few weeks back, there was a big power outage.
Wow.
No power, no AI. So basically, that's the point. No, I really like what was said, during the afternoon before by the colleague from Kuehne+Nagel. He said he used the word copilot, and not making a reference to Microsoft, but that's really what it means. We need to take it as a means, as something that is a helper, for the management to go faster, to be more efficient. It will not replace, and we should not say that it will replace. In some cases, you can replace one job. I used to have, in an automotive factory, some people listening to some noises of a starter, all day long, and we replace that by AI, and that's efficient because you're improving, the work conditions and everything. So that's okay. But if you believe that you can replace your management, the decisions, the trust that you need to have with your team members, then you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, PERNILLE?
I think. Many of us operate globally, of course, and in some countries you have very low number of workforce available to you, and so how do we get access to more resources if we're talking about organizational sustainability? And by using some of the AI tools, we can also open our workplace to more diverse people.
Nice.
I have ADHD, and I use Copilot a lot to get me started on things or to help me out to structure things. So how can we make it better for people also with disabilities who can actually enter our workforce and add value? So I think we need to look at access to talent. I hate this war for talent. I don't believe in it. They're there. We just need to build workplaces that can accommodate that. And AI can help us do that.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, of course.
It's an important point. That's a huge challenge for us, right? So we're in 100 countries, and on our frontline basis, we hire about 350,000 people a year with growth and attrition, et cetera. But what we've done is, and this actually was a genesis from the pandemic. So we've developed with some AI a work-at-home model where it's virtual. I can now cross-border.
Yep.
And I could be in one country, hire someone in another country, and I have a set of tools from collaboration, engagement, et cetera, powered by some AI technology that allows me to do that. So I can now expand my geographies from a growth perspective, except for some regulation issues in some countries, but expand it to meet the need of the growing business.
And that does feel like it's a guide, an advisor, and a kind of calibrator for us to make sure we're doing the things in the right context so that we don't have to do so much cognitive heavy lifting. Do you think there is this kind of skills-based approach that might come out from this, that we're seeing some things outsourced, so therefore what do we do then with the skills we want from people? Are you seeing a kind of a trickle up of those in your organizations, Clément?
Clearly, yes. I mean, because before, let's remember, we as HR, we are gathering some annual appraisals, tons of papers. Sometimes we are looking at them. We are hoping that managers, would use them. At least you can analyze data, much faster, and that's a big enhancer, to get much better. You can go beyond by, trying to match, the skills that you need with what people express, with etc. So all that is great stuff. We're not even talking about automation as well, which is not AI, but we need to automatize a lot, use robots, etc. It's very good to try, some use case, one by one, and to deliver, not to try to kill all the birds with one single stone, and that's really something that is important. But as long as you do that, you try, you fail, you restart, and that's the way AI works or should work in our companies. And then HR has more time to help managers and to help employees to develop, etc. That's my experience on that topic.
I'm feeling a sense of kind of real timeness as well in this, as in it's right in the moment. We're not projecting thinking next month we're going to do it. It's quite hot and it's quite regular and flowing and emergent. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we also need to remember that AI can help us in the process of skill building. I mean, we're among friends here with HR colleagues. That's what we do. We help develop people. And we can shortcut some of the learnings. We use adaptive learning technologies. So we can actually put you in front of a PC and you can acquire some skills and it'll test you. And if you know it already, great. You don't have to spend the full hour doing the e-learning. You can use 5 minutes and then you're back to work. So organizational sustainability and actually driving business results by optimizing, that can be in the skill building as well.
Can I add one thing? On the skills piece, the World Economic Forum put out a report early this year and listed the top 10 skills for the next couple of generations, and the two top ones were critical thinking and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
All because of what's happening from an AI perspective, where we all need people that are more critical at thinking to understand real-time issues, and then the empathy side of AI to relate to that, to solve whatever those challenges are.
I confess that I'm old enough to remember when organizations banned the use of the internet in the office. Because we'd waste time looking at cat pictures and booking holidays. Can you imagine a utility like the internet banned? And we're having similar things happening with AI. So I suppose there is a kind of an ethics thing that we need to be thinking about, but there's also a utility, right? Yeah, cool. So the adoption is a kind of thing that I'm thinking now. So I guess we're trying to balance long-term organizational sustainability, performance, and I guess we'd say a very unpredictable, uncertain world. And then we're trying to get some of these solutions in to shorten learning curves, to get capable, to have more choice, to create more flow. I mean, how are you seeing those conversations kind of oscillating, to use the word that Michele talked about earlier on, long-term sustainability and the short-term experimental and embeddedness of it all? Alan?
It's a really good question. It's one of the things that we've been battling, I guess is a good word, internally, because, and I would add a third dimension, which is what do you want your culture to be?
Ooh, nice.
Because the implementation of AI internally within an organization can have a massive impact on the culture. So as an example, today there's technology that I could automate an interview process. I could automate a performance evaluation process. But is that really what you want to do for your people? Right. So that's those balances or those decision points that you have to look at. But for us, because we're a people business, right? Our people are our product, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
That's really important because you can't take the human out of it, the human interaction as a human interaction company.
Yeah, exactly. And it almost feels like it's a common sense type of thing, doesn't it? But that doesn't always wash in the boardroom where people are going cut, efficiency.
Yeah.
So we are competing against some of the noise about cost of living crisis and organizations having difficult capital-based decisions to make. So I know the tensions are multiplied. So yeah. Any thoughts?
And I think, in this room, this is exactly what we should be discussing also when we go back to our teams and to our management and our boards, because this is not a CIO priority.
No.
Because it's about behaviors and adoption.
Yeah.
So we can also add value towards the company's customers and ensuring that the solutions that we are designing drive the right behavior for our customers so they get the value out of the solutions we're selling to them. So we need to co-own our digital strategy and the AI agenda, and we need to position ourselves together with our solution managers or our innovation teams to understand what is it we deliver to the customer and how can we affect their behaviors. So HR is expanding significantly.
It is.
It's exciting.
Our reach is broader now, and I guess in your organization, you're talking about things like soil conditions and weather and climate and everything, as well as production and supply, right? So your thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's one thing that you mentioned before that is quite important in my view, is the ethical part of it as well. And I would like to go back to that one.
Yeah.
The questions, if you give to AI the opportunity to help your management, your HR, to make some choices. I used to work for an automotive company before, and we were preparing some autonomous driving cars.
Yep.
It's always a famous question, will you, hit, the old grandma crossing the road or the young child, crossing the road. And behind AI, when you're talking about career, there are many, topics like that will come on the table. And that's where we have to be very careful. And talking about adoption, you have to be very clear and transparent with your people to tell them, what are the choices that you are making behind, because it's bringing transparency, it's bringing objectivity, but also sometimes there are some BS that we have to consider, and we have to be extremely careful because depending on the BS, your managers, your top management will adhere or not to what you are putting on the table.
Can I just add, because the ethics is important also when we look at the adoption within our own organization. The differences between how well men and women use AI, and so we're not creating this division. It was also spoken about earlier in one of the other sessions. And so do we divide or do we do it together? Or
Great point.
Yeah.
AI does have a kind of male bias. If you ask it for imagery, there are lots of shirts and ties in the representations that come back. It's an interesting one. So I love all that, and I think there's something really powerful about what Clément said about the ethics piece, because the legal side of things is going to take a while to catch up to some of this. So therefore, I think we're holding an ethical space until the legal stuff gives us what I guess we would look for in precedents and so on. So I think there's a lot more emergence there. So in our wrap-up then, I'm going to get you into an optimistic mindset. What are you most looking forward to about the wider utilization of AI from an HR perspective into people, culture, learning and performance? What are you most looking forward to about it? Pernille, I'll start for you.
I look forward to it becoming a conversation about business driven by people and not supply chain, process standardization and so on. I mean, we can't do anything if we don't put people into the mix. So I think we'll have our place at the table if we don't have it already. But
that's a lovely twist, isn't it? That the machines don't become the dominant thing; they allow people to become the dominant thing. So that's lovely. Clément?
I would expect the levy impact, basically to make sure that you can touch your whole organization, everybody, not forgetting anybody, trying to adapt, the solution to every single employee you have, whether he's far away, whether he's in your headquarters, and trying to make sure you find something customized, for each and every individual in your organization.
Almost again, anti-isolation, closer connectivity, right? I love that. Yeah, Alan?
For me, it's really using it as a tool to make jobs easier to get things done.
Really. I mean, wow.
Really, that's as simple as it should be.
Yeah. And it's interesting how if we look at people like historians like Yuval Noah Harari, who plots our use of technology and shows how we've changed, this is another big step in that story of how we use things, but how we discover who we are and what we're here for, right? I don't know about you folks, but like that was a 20 minutes that I felt pretty immersed in. So I'd like us to show some appreciation to the panel for their lovely insights and wisdom. Thank you.